page, like hosting group. I have to not jump off. I have to pause at 8:30, and either Kim or Sarah will just keep the conversation going, and then I'm going to join back in. So
okay, cool.
But it will stay on. So this one, and Kim, even if you haven't read it, like this chapter, I feel like I underlined and drew a lot of seen light bulbs on so many things here, and I wanted to start. Kind of open it up in conversation, but I wanted to start with a quote that I kind of kept going back to, and it's on page 72. And it's not even a quote; it's just a sentence that John Maxwell wrote, and it says,
"Same thing. It's the same thing as a quote.
Stop right now and change your expectations from how the business will help you to how you will help the business." And I just kept going back to that, and I mean, it really all ties into leadership and influencing. And I think that as you open up, I mean, for this chapter, I mean, he definitely talks about how he leads, but he talks about how people should be looking at leadership in general. And a lot of people I know can get scared of the word leadership, especially if they're falling into an unexpected business, especially if they're not knowing that, you know, they have one customer, one ambassador, all of a sudden they're a leader and they have no idea what they're doing. So the main concept that I took away that I kept going back to was influencing people, how to add value to them in their life, and then learning how to lead yourself. If you are starting as a leader and you're not leading yourself, and I'm not only talking about like doing by example is 100%, but if you are not accepting things and really just kind of letting leadership guide you, you have to take control and be the leader and be someone that can lead yourself before you can even think about leading a team. So that was some of my large takeaways. And I just kind of wanted to open it up to you guys, especially when he first talks about how we add value to other people. It kind of got me thinking the way that helps us give value to other people. Coming off of Leaders Retreat, you know, sometimes you think of giving value to people and have these awesome products that change their lives, but we're giving people confidence. We're giving people the value of community. Like all of a sudden they're a member of this group that's young cheerleaders and they're like, what's happening? But we're also giving value to our families for an opportunity from the financial aspect. So it kind of opens up a whole range of value that we can add to other people. And so I just kind of wanted to open it up to see what maybe one of your big takeaways was kind of outside of the value or the influence piece.
I really was taken aback by what you said, leading yourself first. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how someone can say something that's so simple and seems so logical that you've never thought about, and it just changes everything.
No, you're so right, Donna. And when you started this, do you feel like you were, I guess, ready for that role for yourself?
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No. I was like, okay, well, I like the products and, kids at college, and let me join the business and, see what happens. Mm-hmm. Just not ready to be done with contributing and giving and offering. And so here I am.
Yeah.
I love it. I think too, like that was, I only got a couple pages in, but I think they're all pink. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, if this is the indication of this chapter, leading yourself was huge. Like that's where I'm like, yeah. And his sentence, the one that I kept going back to, is my greatest challenge every day is doing what I should do, not what I want to do. And when he leads himself well, everything else good flows from that. And I think so many times we put a stop on ourselves because we think we need to lead others first, and we go, And really, if we take that first step and start leading ourselves and doing what we need to do, the leadership will follow, because like Nicole, like you said, leading by example is a big part of that. But it's showing leadership, and we're doing it as well. So I think that is just such a huge part. And the other thing that I have, like, is we can change it no matter what. It's a skill that can be learned. It is, you're not born with it, you learn it. And so no matter where we are in our journey, it's something that we can do something about.
Oh, right. Good
No, I
point.
love that, because that reminds me, I mean, I underlined another sentence under the consistency piece, but where he talks about success, but I think about leadership in this example too, is more about what you do than what you know. And I think people get very scared, and I've seen it from people quit and run away because they feel overwhelmed by all of a sudden having someone that's depending on them. But I think when you're confident in your own leadership skills, that dependency feeling is going to turn into value that you're adding, rather than being like, oh my gosh, I have no idea how to lead them, or I have no idea what to say, or as long as you're giving value and influence to that person, you're leading them, whether you know it or not. And so I think that if we can shift that, I think I was definitely trained, and well, I trained myself, I guess, that way of when somebody comes on board and I know that they're a business builder, I'm like, you're a leader, you got one person, you're a leader. And then that can scare people away. They don't even know that they want that. But as long as they know, like, hey, it's simple. You just give them value, like add value to someone, encourage them. Like that can be an example of leadership. So,
yeah. I think, Nicole, gosh, what you just said is so huge, because I have somebody on my team who, she is in it for the business as well, but she has said she's absolutely terrified of leading because she doesn't want to babysit other people to make them do their job. And I'm like, it's not up to you to babysit them. So I think that what you just said, those words are just so much more powerful of, you're adding value. And by adding value, that is leadership, period. You're leading without even realizing it, that you're leading it.
So true. I read this chapter on the flight back from Leaders Retreat. So it was just like same thing. I have so many things underlined and circled.
yeah, no,
What's that? Oh,
Nicole's frozen. So she's frozen in a really pretty position.
oh no.
There she is.
There we go.
Was I frozen?
You were.
Sorry, you guys were all jumbled. I thought I had no. Okay, keep going.
No, that's okay. I just said like this chapter was like divine intervention, perfect timing for reading, because I read it on the flight home from Leaders Retreat, and same thing. Like it's probably so far my favorite chapter. I guess for me the biggest thing. So I guess I'm outgoing. We've talked about this. Who was Don? I think you said ambivert or something. Like I'm outgoing. Yeah. But that being said, I have been in many leadership roles throughout my life. I mean, I was in sports growing up, captain of teams. And I mean, I feel like a teacher, you're just a control freak, leader in general. So I had that under my belt. So for me, the leadership role, which, I don't say this to sound any sort of way, wasn't as challenging for me, I guess, as it may come for some other people. It was kind of just like, this is just what I do. Like I'm an overachiever, control freak. Like that falls really well, I think, into leadership. My biggest hang up is how to teach that and duplicate that. Cause that's, for me, I just feel like that's bred in me. Like I don't feel like I learned it. I feel like it's just a natural thing for me. I mean, maybe I've learned it from an early age, but leadership just comes naturally to me. I'm not saying I'm the best at it, but it doesn't scare me. Like I enjoy it. But where I'm at, it's like for me to get to that next level, which is everybody's goal, ranking up and everything, I have to get that out of other people. And that's where I'm stuck as far as like how to teach that. Cause for me, it just is, you just do it. You know what I mean? Like that's been a lot of self-reflecting, but so much in this chapter I underlined and highlighted because I'm like, okay, like that's a way to explain it. Just like what you guys were saying, just adding value to people is leadership. Because I just think leadership is a hard thing to pin down. There's so many aspects to it and how you explain it and how you learn it. But just so many, I'm like flipping through to see what like my top things are. It's so hard to pick, you know, little things. One thing though, I sent to my team, we have kind of like a business builders thread that I loved, because this is what I hear from a lot of people. It's like, you know, we have all these fun incentives every month and everybody wants to win them, but not everybody does, you know? And it's like, this is what I underlined, your work without results is not wasted, it's stored. It's on page 76. I like highlighted, put love, underline. I think that's so true. It's like, you know, another thing was consistency that they said. So consistency, doing the things every day you should do, not always what you want to do. All of that goes into, you know, people are like, I'm doing the things and it's not producing the results. And I love that. Your work without results is not wasted, it's stored. And I feel like as a leader, that's something I can help other leaders on my team kind of understand and duplicate down the line. But just so much good stuff in here.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's great, Katie. And I mean, it goes along with the consistency piece.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge. I mean, I think that's something that's, you have to choose whether you're going to be in or whether you're out. Like, this halfway is really hard for people. And I think people reach a point where if they don't know if they're in or out, but then things are stopping for them. I think that with consistency, like with that stored, even though kind of like you're planting the seeds like all the time over and over, and eventually that is going to pay off. Because there was another one that I underlined. I loved this one. A fast start in this business will turn heads. However, consistency will turn profits.
Yep. I underline that too.
You are eventually going to get to where you want to go. It's just your personal story. It's your personal. And I think that on page 73, when they talk about set your standards high and keeping them high, talks about it's easier to set your standards in terms of other people's accomplishments and then let other people measure you by those standards. But if you're setting them for yourself, those are the ones that are going to be the most important. So I just think that like the piece on talking about setting your own bar, being consistent, and then raising the bar, and then setting and raising it again, that is going to be, I like that, because we said it gets to number 6, raise the bar again. That's where legends live. That is where,
oh, I love that.
I know, it's awesome. I mean, I feel like that is follows along the lines of do more than what you expect for yourself. Like, do what's beyond expected, and that's how you're going to become the leader you want to be and help lead the people who are going with you. I know for me personally, like I got to a place, like I don't want to say like a low, dark place, but I got to a place where I stopped setting goals for myself. And I was like, this is what it is. I'm not going to check my back office. I'm not looking at my points. It's depressing. Like and I hated that, because then if I'm not setting goals, well, guess what I'm doing? I'm not setting goals for my team. I'm not helping my teammates set goals. And I'm setting the precedent of like, well, just keep on plugging away. But I don't know. I think that to exceed expectations and do more of what is expected every single day is it's just a great thing to strive for, especially in this business, because you're the only one that controls it.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, this is one of my fears, and he put it on page 78. He wrote, never forget that as a leader, you're either somebody's weight or you're somebody's wings. I know our objective is to be wings, but I fear for myself that I'm still in this learning curve and I don't have a lot to offer yet. So I'm fearful, and he put it right in that word right there. I don't want to be somebody's weight. And that holds me back.
I'll tell you, Joan, just from knowing you personally, like, you are not a weight, you are wings. Like,
Absolutely.
you give me wings and flight and belief every single time I talk to you. You're leading me and inspiring me. And you don't need to know anything. You just add value, and you're you. And that is just like, I get all teary-eyed thinking about it.
Stop it.
Because it's
After-
so true. I mean, it's just like you're a leader. You've got
Well,
wings,
the thing is,
honey.
I'm still trying to learn to duplicate what I can be to be a better leader. I mean, this book is awesome because I know, I mean, like you, I'm highlighting. I can't stop highlighting. I mean, not even just the whole book.
I think it might be better to look at the page, and if there's any word that you don't want to, that's not important, maybe highlight that,
Right.
right?
I mean, Joan, the fact that you're in this book club, the fact that you're showing up, the fact that you're wanting this and you're doing the work and you're putting it in, I mean, you're leading yourself right there. So you have to lead yourself first before you lead other people. And I just think that's awesome. It speaks a lot to who you are and where you're wanting to go in this journey, for sure.
But when I saw this book come up, I was like, this is it. This is what I need. I read a lot of other books, and Kim, I just started your new book that you gave me. And so I'm ready,
It's the best.
It really is. If you haven't seen, I don't know if you can find it on YouTube, but to read that part in this book where John Maxwell talks about the weight or the wings, he talks about the practice that he does where he brings somebody on stage. And he actually did that at our convention where he like pushes them to sit down and he's kneeling with them. Or if he tries to lift them up, like he rises as well. And it's a pretty cool visual to see. So I don't know if he has it on YouTube, but if he does, I'll try to find it and send it.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it's just kind of you're like, oh my gosh, how did I not think about that before?
That's interesting.
Yeah. That I liked that. I loved that part in this chapter about the weight in the wings. I think that one of the things that I definitely struggle with is when it comes to being a leader, like I am generally a positive person. And I think that I have gotten feedback from people who are no longer like on the journey with me that I was too positive, and that gave them almost like false hope and things aren't always that great. And you need to be more real. You're, rainbow and unicorns all the time. And so that kind of paralyzed me for a second because I guess I choose to be that way because that's just who I am and that's how I want to live every day. And yes, I have majorly bad days, low days, but I post positive things all the time because that's what I kind of use it as my social media diary because that's how I want to live and how I want to be. And if I'm having a bad day, then so I think trying to mold yourself into different personalities to fit different personalities that you're leading, it doesn't work. So just to stick to know and do what you do and what you do best and to lead the way that and just continuing adding value. But that's definitely one thing that kind of tripped me up because I'm like, well, I don't want to be like this.
So share your gifts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Personal gifts. Everyone has different gifts.
That's so true. And is there really, like, I find myself getting irritated sometimes by overly happy waiters or waitresses or something. And then I'm like, seriously, Kim, really? Like, service sucks for the most part. And you're irritated by too positive of a person. Get over yourself. So I would say have them get over themselves because there's nothing wrong with like, you're a joy. So don't let them dampen your light for that.
No, absolutely. No, but it just reminds you that you're not gonna please everybody. Like those sayings on Facebook, you're not chocolate, you're not whatever. You're not gonna please everybody every time. But as long as you show up and you're being true to yourself and adding value to other people, then those that are going to go with you will grow with you in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see.
I wanted to say something really quickly too while Katie was talking about leadership and how it doesn't scare her. And I've had some aha moments. I was talking to Nicole before everybody got on I've been listening a lot to Preston Pugmire based on Jen Hawkins' recommendation. And I've had some aha moments about being in a season, like a winter season, where things are dormant and they're in hibernation, and that season has been really long. It's an emotional one. And I'm ready to bust out of that. But the leadership part of this, like, I have grown up in management positions. So oftentimes those management positions through my entire career, like people followed me because they had to, because I was in a position. I knew I couldn't earn their respect unless I earned it. And there's a difference between being respected and being a manager. And so I think that I have stifled myself because I'm like, gosh, what if I can't lead? What if they won't follow me because they're not being told to follow me? And so my most favorite part of anything I've ever done professionally has always been the people and helping people to strive and reach their goals and do better things and always think outside the box. And I have put a block. I've got my foot on the brake as I'm going through this, and it's because of that. And so knowing that is how I will fix it, I guess. But I need to lead myself.
No, I agree with that completely. Like this type of leadership's different in that people have a choice.
Yeah, like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm afraid they're going to choose the other way.
I mean, well, just what you were saying about your friend Joan. I mean, Kim, you're one of my favorite people. I just love, like, I could just listen to you talk. You just make me happy. Like, you're just a bubble of happy.
Yeah,
And I just
thank you.
feel like people, if they're going to choose a leader, they're going to choose one like that. And I guess the other piece, and like Nicole, you were saying, it's like that fine line you walk between, since people have the choice of like being overly, I don't want to say like aggressive, but just like, you know, if you have a red personality like me, like I'm like, here it is, here's how you do it. Like, I don't have a lot of time for like the lovey-dovey, which and I wish I did. Like, that's just not part of I'm like, okay. But then when I get a teammate that needs that, it's just very eye-opening. So I was in Nashville for Jen's Music City retreat last April, and there was a training one morning. There was a ton of us, and we like went around and we were talking about the different colors of red, yellow, green, but like kind of a little more in depth than that. But there was a girl that was sitting right next to me, and we were polar opposite. Like, I am red through and through, and she was like the yellow and the blue and the happy and we just were cracking each other up because she's like, oh, I cry over everything. I'm like, I never cry. Like, and I said, whenever I have like a teammate that needs somebody to love on them, like, I'm just going to send them your way. She just would like hold them and like, so and that's the other thing, I guess, a fear of mine with this business specifically. There are so many different personalities coming, and I know not everyone's like me, and I know I'm not like everybody else, but since they have that choice of that leader, it's like, how do you kind of be a chameleon to appeal to everyone's needs, I guess, if that matters. So what I've done to try and help with that is I'll do like leader calls, just for, the top 20% on my team that's working. And I try and get a lot of times Jules, but just anybody having, being successful in the business that might be a different personality than me, just to kind of show them that, oh, there are people like me in the business. Because I just can't sit there and hold. I wish I could.
Because I'm yellow, but I'm not about to hold them either. So get on it.
Yes, I know.
I'll cry while I crack the whip.
Yeah.
That is hard, Kate. That is really hard, Katie. I don't know. I'm new to this, and so I don't feel like I've taken a whole bunch of people under my wing yet or anything, but there is one particular gal, and she's just so negative all the time. And kind of the same thing, like needs some hand holding and stuff. And it's just, I haven't learned how to deal. I mean, I just kind of like am just always positive with her, whenever I can see where her messages are going down, and I'm like just trying to like lift her back up. And that's really hard. That's hard for me. There wasn't a whole lot in here about that, but I will say, I love how, so yeah, I was super excited to read this chapter because leadership, like when you say leadership to me, then like I'm automatically like want to put on the brakes, and it's a little intimidating and scary. But like the very first thing you read is that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less.
Mhm.
And so, immediately as I'm reading this, my mind is thinking about all of the people that have an influence over my life. And just like you guys were talking about, you can, there are going to be people that choose to join this journey. And it's not going to be because, I mean, I've weeded out all the negative influences in my life. So people are going to do that too. So I've completely lost my train of thought, but I'll go back to where I started. The fact that it is all about influence, and that, and then I started thinking about the people that I follow, especially in Plexus, like Brooke Hemingway, Emily Roberts, Katie, you, all of those people have influenced me in a positive way because they obviously are leading themselves well. And you can't just do like bits and pieces of this chapter or this whole book, even really. But if you are leading yourself well and you are watching training videos and doing things like this, I think it's all just going to kind of like a puzzle, just eventually like come together. So like the loving on people, being real with people, encouraging people. How can you improve their life? If you just had a meeting with somebody, are you going to walk away from that and think, did I add value to their life? I think it just all, if you're leading yourself well, like this chapter coaches us to do, I think all the rest is just going to kind of eventually, it may not all happen at once. But I think it's all just going to kind of like fit together, to help us to be a positive influence for people.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree.
Let's see what else.
I'm like, I know. Nicole is now getting in her car. She's on her phone and no longer leading, so we're co-leading the rest of this.
Well, another thing that I'll add is the whole section about consistency. It's so easy to not be consistent. It's easy to let little things get in your way, or big things get in your way. But I really, there's something in there, which I don't see it right off the top of my head, but something about what separates leaders, like successful leaders, from non-successful leaders is consistency. And so I think that section really, really stuck out to me. I wish I could find that
like
particular
through
quote, but
everything too, like no matter what, consistency is it, and doing it whether you feel like doing it or not. It's I think, as I'm thinking about this too, leading yourself well is, if you were in a traditional job and you were your employee, would you be like, oh my gosh, she's a star employee, she goes above and beyond doing all of the things that are asked and then some? Or would you fire yourself? And I might be on probation right now. It's like waiting for the final TikTok. And I think maybe mentally, as I'm saying that, I feel like I might be waiting for the other shoe to drop from my boss, which
is you.
Is me.
Yeah.
I would fire myself right now.
Oh my gosh.
This is why it's a good thing that winter is ending mentally.
Good. Well, I think going along with both what Kim, you and Sarah said, on page 78, I underlined this. Your network marketing business will flourish when your words and actions match. And that is something so huge to me. Especially when just starting out, even on like large team pages and things, like when the leader's on there, put an IPA out or a challenge of some sort. It means a lot to me if they're also doing it. Do you know what I mean? Not kind of just sitting back and not letting, the work we do benefits us, but it also benefits them. It's network marketing. So I feel like anytime I do a challenge, whether it's on my team page or in a small group or something, like I'm showing up for it too, because I know, when I was first starting out, and I'm still not where I want to be. So, I'm not saying that, but it makes me work harder when I see somebody above me working hard too. Like it's, they're saying, this is how I got here. These are the things I did. You need to do these things to get here if this is where you want to go. But then actually seeing them do it and follow through. Like that.
I think that builds a big level of trust. You know, think about that. You're not going to trust someone that's telling you to do something and they don't even do it themselves.
Right. Absolutely. So. I love.
Sorry, guys. I'm back. I've been listening, but I was to add on to what you're saying. Sometimes I think that I guess I've learned when somebody will say, like if I earn an incentive or if I've personally enrolled, because I think, once we learn how to lead ourselves and we show up every day and we're consistent and we just keep doing the action, people have asked before, like, what do you, like, how tell me the secret. Like, what do you do? Like, how do you do it? Or, and not to say that happens every month, only like, specific times. And the last time somebody asked me that, like the first thing that popped in my mind was the image of, it's like a cartoon graphic of somebody just like layering bricks, like gold bricks, one after the other. And finally, like they built this gigantic pyramid. Pyramid's not the right word.
Don't use that word.
Wall. It's a wall.
Don't use a wall. The fort.
But
they built a wall.
Yeah, they built this amazing wall. And so I sent that graphic and like, and that's not like, I'm like, this is not really a secret. It's just show up daily and just keep doing the work. And then I just put the graphic in, and it's so true. Cause I think that it does take time, and it takes consistency, most of all, 100%, regardless of the action of that particular action item that day. It's going to be all those days combined. Yep. And it's kind of that concept of what John Maxwell put about doubling the penny every single day and like seeing what that value adds up to be.
Yep.
So true.
I think you're absolutely right. It's leading yourself, knowing that that's what you need to do, and then doing it, like showing up for yourself, not for anybody else. And I know we had talked about this before, I think too, about sometimes our goals can be so big that they feel overwhelming. So it's like, oh, gosh, why do I even bother? Mm-hmm. And so Nicole, you said it, you said that you had quit making goals for yourself. And like what I'm really good at doing is like setting the big goals, like when the incentives come out and I'm like, okay, 3 months out, this is what I need to do. And then I realize that it's too big for me to swallow. And so I need to like reset. And right now I'm like, okay, I still want Ruby by next convention. Why do I have my foot off of the accelerator right now? I have a long ways to go to make that happen. You're not waiting until January for some incentive. Like this has to happen now, period. And so resetting my mindset on a frequent basis, weekly, and showing up and reassessing those goals and doing the things that need to be done every single day will layer those bricks, and eventually we'll have like this beautiful castle with a big moat and whatever it is. And I just want to say, Nicole shared, gosh, it was earlier this year, her daily activity, and I posted it as training sections on my team page. It was like, what do I do for 15 minutes? I reached out to 5 people. I sent this message, and this took me 42 minutes today. I did this while I was in pickup line and everything else. And I was like, you guys, everybody, look at this. This is how it happens. It's one brick at a time. Leading yourself and showing up.
Kim, if you could resend that to me for remotivation. Oh my gosh, I need to go back to that day because I need to reset too. And I think that if we work each day like it's the last day of the month,
Yes.
because the last day of the month we're hustling, we are calling, we are messaging, we are doing all the things. And if
Yes.
we work like that and for 30 minutes every single day, there's nothing stopping us.
Exactly right.
Yeah. But if you could resend me my own IPA, it would be great.
I will. I'll tag you in the little lesson plan because I thought it was brilliant.
Thank you.
But like Jen VM said, she did, she posted it today on her page, but yesterday she started the Monday motivation call with y'all. Like, there's a week left. Like, that's a month in Plexus time. Magic can happen in 4 days. Get on it. Do not stop. Magic happens. And she's like, all of those things that you have been doing every single day magically like come to fruition in the last of the month.
Uh-huh.
So my talk is like, why haven't I been doing it before now?
I think too, the end of the month, people like your prospects. It's like, oh, it's the end of the month. I guess I bet like everybody waits till the last minute.
Yes.
It's
like
so aggravating. But yes, you're right. You're right. The magic can happen in 4 days. Very true. Very true.
Yes, if we take that same energy and apply it to the first week of the month.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, and that's like, so Brooke and her team, Brooke Hemingway and her team, they say that you can't push like that all the time. It's exhausting. So they break it up and they push like the first week, and then they have like a 3-day, and then they push the third week, and then the rest is just kind of like sweeping up what's coming in. And it's a much more sane way of approaching the month. It's like, flip it around. And it clearly is working.
Clearly.
During Leaders Retreat this past weekend, I recorded, and Katie can kind of attest for this as well, but they didn't have, many jewels there, just the ones that were training, like Jen Hawkins, Jessica Heffley, Melissa Eichenhorst, Brooke Hemingway, Jennifer Leith. I recorded on my phone, and I was still present in the moment, but I just had to have it just to even re-listen myself or motivate my team. But I cried at every single one of their talks because it hit me hard emotionally, and like where I am and where I want to be and where I've been. And I would love to upload those to YouTube, if I'm not like stealing anybody's rights, and send them on our thread for the Power of 5, because the 9 minutes that Jennifer Leith spoke was one of the most influential pieces that I have heard in my 5.5 years of being here.
I loved it. Like, I listened to that today and I tried to share it. I don't think actually my share will work because it's coming out of your page.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to upload those and make those public, as long as those.
That would be awesome.
Ladies don't care.
My favorite too. She was amazing.
Yeah, it was really good. One of them, I think it was Melissa Eichenhorst, was talking about how we need to stop saying good enough and have things be great. Like, oh, my business is good enough, my relationship is good enough, my life is good enough. Like, that's not enough for who we are and where we want to be and what we're going after. And if we put that, kind of like what John Maxwell talks about, putting the lid, the law of the lid. If your lid is at a 4, your business is going to be a 3. If your leadership lid, you can, we have the power and control to raise that lid. And I think that that's a beautiful thing, that it's a responsibility, but it's a responsibility to ourselves. Not that anybody else is asking for. And I think when we realize that power is in our hands, it changes the mindset of it being, something that we feel pressure to do rather than we have the opportunity to do.
Yeah.
I heard something at a training. It may have been at the summit Heilig had last summer, but whoever was training said, when someone asks you how your business is going, amazing. It's either amazingly good or amazingly bad, but it's always incredible. Oh, it's incredible. It's amazing. It's, and find one of those bright adjectives and just stop there.
Yep.
Right.
you know? Like,
Your
okay.
mind believes it. Yep, I always think of her too. She was at our convention in Florida, or in Phoenix,
Uh-huh.
in 2015. Yeah, that would have been in 2015. And then she spoke again in Vegas, and I love that part.
Mhm.
How's it going? Amazing.
Yeah.
It's going amazingly down the tubes.
But they don't have to know the follow-up.
That's right.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, it is in this book too. I was like looking for it. Like, I don't know why I can't find it. I only read 3 pages. But the setting, like, don't just settle. Like,
Yeah.
we're not here to just be mediocre and just good enough. Like, that's not it. That's not good enough for me.
Yeah.
That's not what we were made to do. And so, this is where it is. It says, live intentionally, stop accepting your life, and start leading your life.
Reading. Yep.
Isn't that, I'm like, oh my gosh. Stop accepting your life. Right. Bullet point number 1 on page 70.
No, I love that, Kim, and I like the other bullet point too of stop allowing other people to control your life, and I look at that in a way of like, you know, I had a sweet team member who made a post, and her very own aunt was like, "Shame on you for," you know, like publicly shamed her in a comment. And she was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm done. I can't. And it just broke my heart that this one person's opinion was going to allow someone who was so excited and so happy and so to just completely shut it down.
Yeah.
Words
And
are powerful.
it is. It's a hard road to push through. But it definitely, again, is one of those mindsets of, I mean, I am a yes person. I was, before Plexus, I was never, like, if somebody thought something, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, you're probably right. And like, that completely changed and shifted. And I think that that's what's just so eye-opening and great. Like, my mom going to Leaders Retreat with me, you know, she used to tell me, she's like, do you think you post too much? I'm like, do you think I post too much? She's like, I'm like, okay, good, well then it's working. Like, so this weekend she was like, I get it, like, I understand.
I love your mom.
Well, it's so,
Isn't she so sweet?
So sweet. Like,
but
so
she
cute.
kind of finally saw and understood the vision just by sitting in the general session and like looking around and kind of just taken aback, like, wow, I understand why, you know. And not that I needed to have that validation, but I think you
It
just
helps.
keep going. It does help. And you just keep going. And eventually the people that love you are going to love you for what you're doing and for how crazy of a Plexus lady they think you are.
Oh, I need you ladies so much. This is so good.
I know. Well, I'm super pumped for next week's chapter about significance, because that is definitely my Plexus why, but I didn't know it when I started. Kind of evolved. And we may have a special guest next week.
Oh.
Surprise!
I better read up then and make sure I don't make a fool of myself.
Yeah, don't miss next week.
All dressed up for John Maxwell.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
I don't know what I would do in a little thing with John Maxwell. Right up close and personal on Zoom with us.
Can you imagine? Oh my gosh.
Well, I didn't do the homework at the end of this chapter, but I definitely am going to after our conversation. I think it's helping me, guide me into filling out like what I need to do with those couple of questions about what I need to, like, personally, what we need to change in leadership, like what we can improve, what we thrive on, different things like that. So thank you guys for helping me.
Yes, thank you.
Before we go, there's one little thing that we did not touch on, and it's right at the very end. And it totally changed how I think about looking for potential leaders to mentor. Do you guys remember that last part? And it says finding potential leaders. Like, I don't know. I've always seen like, look for people who have a big social network influence, or a big, or they're just positive. And, but seeing all the points that he says, look for people who produce results, look for people who like to help others, look for people who are personally growing, people who attract people to themselves, and people who want leadership responsibilities made me look way outside of the box that I was looking in, and think about more people, basically, people in my community group that we meet every Monday at my house, people, other moms at school. After reading all those qualities, I was like, I'm kind of surrounded by people that have all of those qualities, and I've never thought of it before.
Yeah, because you attract them because you have them too.
Well, I guess maybe that is so. And I try and stay away from people that annoy me. So anyway, I thought that was, I don't know if anyone
it's so true.
hung on to that, but I mean, it really opened my eyes to look way beyond where I was looking before. And so, I like circled all of it and wrote a whole bunch of notes there and people's names. And that was really, really good for me.
I think that's awesome. Yeah. We want the movers, the shakers, the people who are going to change the world. People who might think like us, because we're crazy, and we need more people to make us not feel so crazy.
I second that.
Speak for yourself.
I am. We're all crazy except for Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Well,
All right.
thank you guys so much for tonight. I think it was, I don't know, I feel like I've moved miles from this chapter for sure.
I'm going to go read it again right now.
I just feel I've noticed personally in myself big changes from reading this, not just this chapter, but all of the chapters up to now. So I'm like so thankful for this book and for you guys and the way you've poured into me. So it's just been amazing so far.
Yay.
It's so fun. I agree.
Love it.
It's what I need.
Yeah.
Now we need to go do.
Yeah.
Not accept life. I'm going to make that as my wallpaper right now. Accept your life.
All right.
Good.
Well, have a good night.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Kim, for recording this.
Yes, you're welcome. It'll come up soon. See you all. Have a
All right.
Day.
Bye.
Can I show you guys something really quick if you want to see something really cute? Hold on. Just to leave you with this. Hey, Taylor. Hey.
Oh.
Hey.
So cute. Oh.
She always has a toy in her mouth.
I love it. I love it.
He's cute.
You guys have a good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.